WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 23 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies, I want to know why you like the bad boys. Why do you like the bad boys? Why do you want these guys that have nothing on their mind other than to abuse you and use you and toss you out the window? Why don't you get those guys who have more scientific minds, who may have been viewed as nerdy or whatever in their day? And because you know what happens, Robin, when you're like a scientist or somebody who's academically blessed, you know, you spend, not that I am, but I mean, you spend your time. Really, I mean, you're doing the task at hand, but there's a part of your brain that is thinking, you know, one of these days I'm going to get the perfect woman. And I don't know how this is going to happen, but I am. And when I do, I'm going to hold on to her and love her for the rest of my life. In other words, ladies, the bad boys that you all like, they're not going to be as romantic as the guy in the corner with the glasses, you know, deciphering something with a pencil and a slide rule.
That's right.
Our next guest may not necessarily fit that description. I don't want anybody to think that's where I was going with this. But John Fishwick has written a very beautiful romantic book with a sad beginning, of course. It's important to mention that too, but it kind of gets your heart in the right place, I guess. And here's the part that leads to the eyeglasses and the deciphering. He's a chemist, a geologist. Listen to this. He's a patriot too. He joined the British Army to study Russian with the British intelligence. He's a longtime member of Mensa, so there you go. He's one of these guys who has an IQ that qualifies him for that elite club. He is a previous president of the Everglades Astronomical Society.
That's cool.
I guess that's here in Florida, huh?
Yep.
And he's a technical writer and a not-so-technical writer, and that's what we're focusing on today. It's a book he's written called A Flight of Romance. And I hope I haven't embarrassed him or made him hang up. John Fishwick. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Larry. You guys seem to be having a good time up there.
we are. Where are you right now?
Well, I'm actually not too far from where you are. I'm in Naples, Florida.
In Naples, okay.
And I actually know your area, Larry, pretty well because my son used to be a professor of computer science at UF for about 20 years.
Wow.
So I used to regularly go up 75 and spend some time in Gainesville, so I know Gainesville quite well.
So like father, like son, he inherited the brains, right?
Well, I don't know about that.
see, that's always the way you guys are. You're always humble about it, but yeah. But anyway.
Just to follow up a little bit about what I heard you talking to your delightful companion there, there are actually, this comes up periodically when I discuss subjects like education in America, there are now more women graduating from college than there are men. And this leads to a very interesting situation whereby you're finding women now are marrying down a little bit. So when you move for a job, it's the woman's job that decides where you end up living.
Okay.
So this is going to be quite a big change for the man's ego, who, of course, used to be thought of as the breadwinner. But anyway.
Yeah, but you know who the men you're talking about are the bad boys. They're the ones who decided to have leather and grease.
Well, you know, you guys seem to be having, as I said, such a good time up there. The next time I'm coming up 75, I'm going to stop by Ocala and come up to your studios to see what you look like.
I hope you do, and let us know in advance. We'll have you on the air again. You can spend some time with us on the air. We broadcast from the Paddock Mall, so you'll see a lot of shoppers.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Anyway, if I could just give you a little bit more about my background, and anytime you want to interrupt with a comment or a question, feel free.
I have one already. Can I tell you one I already have? What do you do in the Everglades Astronomical? I'm picturing you standing in the swamp with a telescope.
Well, yeah, you're almost right, except I do a lot of lecturing, particularly on cruise ships and colleges and universities, and country clubs and things like that. In fact, let me share with you. I'm digressing a little bit here, but it's an interesting story.
Okay.
I was giving a lecture or a series of lectures on a cruise in the Mediterranean last year, and we were in the area of Corfu, approaching Corfu in Greece.
Okay.
And that morning happened to be a very interesting astronomical event. Some of your listeners may know about this, some may not. It's called the Transit of Venus, and it only happens about once every 127 years. And it was on May the 6th of last year. And it was early in the morning, and I had a couple of hundred people up on top deck on the cruise ship, and we could see it through the correct glasses, fogged glasses, and you could see a little black spot crossing the sun, which was Venus.
Oh, I remember this. Yes. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Okay, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, we were looking through one of those glass partitions in front of the ship to stop the wind, and the captain was standing next to me. And he said, John, is it a little hard to see through the glass partition? I said, well, it actually is a little bit. And he picks up his cell phone and calls the bridge, and he says, steer 20 degrees to port. And the whole of the ship comes round so we could watch the Venus transit.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
How cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, we have a good time. But we do a lot of observing, and I do a lot of lecturing about the origin of the universe and what the fate of the universe is, and asteroids and comets and things like that.
But in a philosophical way, when you're looking at the entire universe and you're philosophically trying to figure out why it even exists in the first place, you really can boil it down to this amazing thing that happens between men and women where they fall in love. That's got to have some place in this big gigantic thing.
Well, this is you are asking exactly the right questions this morning. You aren't a secret astronomer, are you? By the way, are you, Larry?
No, I don't have a telescope.
Love space.
But I do look out at the sky a lot.
Okay. Well, the reason I find your questions interesting, and I'm going to go back a little bit to the synopsis of the novel. We've got Jeremy Rowlands, a professor at UF. Professor of astronomy at UF, loses his wife to a car accident because of a big fire on Payne's Prairie, and she was in the fog and got killed. And
is that based on a true story? Because we really had that happen a couple of years ago.
Oh, I'll believe it. No, the novel actually is semi-autobiographical.
Okay.
And I'll get into this a little later if you're interested.
Well, did you lose your wife in an accident?
I did. I lost her to cancer.
Oh, man.
And I met a lady from Chicago a little bit after that who had lost her husband to something else. And we had a second chance at romance, and it's worked out beautifully. So I'm kind of talking to a variety of your listeners this morning. Anybody out there who's lost a spouse, man or woman, or even had a divorce, you may be asking yourself, is there another chance for me? Well, my answer is, yes, there is. Go for it.
Yeah, right. That's of course. I mean, it makes you feel like you have a purpose, right?
Exactly. Now, this is the word purpose is interesting because Jeremy, the astronomer from UF, decides to spend about 3 weeks in England searching for the age-old question that most of us at some point will ask ourselves. Who are we? Why are we here? And as you say, what's the purpose of all of this?
Right.
So he decides to go to England to search out various scientific sites because he believes that is the key to coming up with his own answer.
Why England?
Well, because first of all, I was raised in England,
okay,
and there's a lot of the original scientific discovery from Newton onwards was done in Great Britain. So anyway, he goes to places like Darwin's home. He goes to the radio telescopes at Cambridge University and other sites, which, if I have time during the interview, I'll talk about. But so he's on this grand search for what's the purpose of all of this, and who are we? And there's a lady, Stephanie Marks, who lives in Asheville, North Carolina, who is a retired teacher of English.
Okay.
She's lost her husband to cancer a couple of years ago, and she wants to go to Britain to search and look for the homes of the poets and writers that she used to teach high school students.
Oh, so her other side of the brain works. So his...
Yeah, exactly. And she's also a lover of art. And there's no prize for guessing that they meet quite by chance, side by side, on a plane from Newark, New Jersey to Heathrow in England. And at first, the conversation is kind of perfunctory. And then Jeremy says, well, my first sight, I want to go and see the world's first geological map in Kensington in London. He said, it's a wonderful piece of work. Every rock, whether it be limestone or sandstone or granite or whatever, has a different color. And you can spend weeks looking at this simply for scientific information. But he also said to Stephanie, you know, it's a work of art, too. It's a piece of informational art. So Stephanie says, oh, I'd like to see that. So that starts them off. And then she says, now, you've taken me to a scientific site. I'm going to take you to the National Gallery in London to look at the paintings by Constable and Turner and Manet.
Oh, how wonderful.
And so gradually, they're not sure about this at first, but gradually they decide to make the trips around England together. So it's kind of what I'm going to coin as an edu novel. I'm trying to educate on the background of a romantic story, because both of them are sworn to remain single the rest of their lives. They've had the loves of their lives, and they don't want any more.
Yeah.
Now, that's about to change. As they gradually work their way around Britain, they form a very strong emotional bond. And you can see how it ends very romantically. And this is the first of a trilogy, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the second one is a thriller and takes place in the United States.
With the same characters?
With the same two protagonists.
Okay.
And if toward the end of my interview this morning you want me to mention a few words about how this actually starts, I'll do so.
Okay. Let me kind of make an observation here, and I'm guessing that you made it first, and I'm just observing your observation, is that there is a similarity between the way a poet and an artist sees the world and the universe and the way a scientific mind sees the world and the universe. I just think the two different groups of people take their curiosity about the world and the universe and do different things with them. Mm-hmm. The poet, the artist, tries to express it and maybe understand it that way, whereas the scientific person is more likely to be curious about numbers. And isn't it strange how numbers have a clear connection, if you will, to art and maybe even specifically to music? So music might be the math form that connects science and art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Larry, I've got the feeling that you've missed your calling there in Arcata. You should be up teaching at UF.
I teach right here. but I'm a student more than I am an educator. I learn from you. I learn from our listeners. And,
wonderful.
And I'm also, I just love sharing conversation with people like yourself who I find enjoyable to talk to. So if you do make your way up I-75, you're definitely welcome in this studio. We'd love to have you here.
Good. Oh, fabulous. I'd like to do that.
I have friends in Naples, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, my uncle's there, too.
Oh, Robin has an uncle. And I know the lady who's married to my friend down there runs some kind of a tour of the Everglades. So you might have even run into her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's possible there's a connection there.
You have set up a wonderful roadmap in your book, because no matter how much a person plans a vacation or they plan their life, there's always some bumps in the road that happen, and your characters really come through it with shining stars very delicately and very real also.
Oh, thank you. Actually, what I tried to do, and I've given a few talks to local book clubs, and I usually ask the people in the audience, I tried my best to keep the two protagonists, Jeremy and Stephanie, on an equal basis. The word is, I think, called a deuteragonist. And I didn't want Stephanie to be like Ed McMahon was on the Johnny Carson show.
Right. Oh, that's a good,
A foil for Carson. I wanted them to have equal footing, and I tried my best to do that. But to get back a little bit about what you were saying of science and art, one of my lectures, which I like to give, is the relationship between science and art. And I go into various painters, like if you're into art, you remember Manet's painting on the boats? He was one of the first to have a curved horizon, knowing that the Earth was in fact round.
I didn't know that.
And then if you look at some of the works by Picasso, and he often shows faces from more than one side. And this is almost what you would see if you could travel at the speed of light. So there's a lot of relationship between, as you pointed out, between art and science and music. Very mathematical.
And I mean, Da Vinci is a perfect example of somebody who knew how to create art as well as understood or at least was curious about science.
Yes, absolutely. But anyway, just let me go back. Let me take you back.
But he wasn't a ladies' man. I don't think so. Not with that hairy face. I don't think so.
Well, no, talking about it, I keep changing gears here from what you've said. But I did, my wife and I did something a few weeks ago. We had our genome tested. There's a great source called National Geographic Genome, and you spit into and you
Wait, you spit into a what? You broke off there. What do you say?
Oh, you can spit into a little glass container, a little vial.
Okay.
And you send it, and they will extract the DNA, and they'll come back with your history, your genealogy, going back a couple of 100,000 years.
Really?
Yeah, and mine and my wife's, and I would guess most of your listeners, have about 1 or 2% Neanderthal. This comes back to the hairy face.
Oh, I know, I do. No, wait, how much did you pay for this?
Actually, it's $99 per person.
Now, how could you? You could have sent it to me. I could have made up anything. And how would you? How would you know to question me? I mean, I could say, "Oh, you go back to the Neanderthal."
Yes. Now, my question to your lady, which
Robin.
What's your name, please?
Robin.
Robin.
Yes.
Okay. My question to her is, has Larry got a big beard up there?
No.
He hasn't got a beard.
I have a face that could grow one.
Yes, he
Oh,
does. He could.
okay.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did you think I was going to lie to you? Why would you ask her about my face?
Because I find women are more objective than our men.
Wow, how could I make okay?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
All right, so
where you're going to. But one interesting point, and I mentioned this at an audience I had last week. I've talked to a lot of book clubs, and almost invariably, the members of book clubs are women.
Yes, more women are reading for some reason.
Yeah, I kind of, and I'd like your opinion on this. I kind of think, in general, women are a little more intellectually curious than men are. Men are happy talking football or sports.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't agree, though, because I think every person within their own gender, you have a niche where some like sports, some like intellectual conversations, some like art, some like music.
But I think he's right. I think more women are reading, just based on what I read about women reading. I read a lot, but I don't know that I'm usual. Very unusual. But you know what I think about this, though? It's the same as cutting the grass or putting on a new doorknob. If a man cuts the grass or puts on a new doorknob, he's going to take a photo of it. He's going to stand in the doorway looking at the grass. He's going to be bragging about what the great job he did. The same thing with reading a book. If a man reads a book, he's going to be telling everybody, I read that book.
Yeah.
He's going to be telling everybody for a week. I read that. Meanwhile, a woman reads a book a day and never tells anybody.
That's right.
You're raising fascinating subjects here this morning. I'm only sorry we don't have a couple of hours to talk, because and this is apparently common with other men, when we barbecue for 6 or 7 people coming over, my job is to take the chicken or whatever it is, spend 10 minutes barbecuing, whereas the wife has spent hours preparing the side dishes and getting out the plates and the candles for the table. But who gets the congratulation at the end of the evening?
Right. Because you've got the main thing.
Yeah.
She's got the side dish, which took forever to make. Yeah, absolutely. That's a funny observation. Yeah.
You're a keen observer, sir.
The book is...
I have a little bit of information for Robin this morning. She sounds like a delightful lady.
Okay.
I was actually raised in an island that some of you listening may know about. It's the Isle of Man. It's roughly equidistant between England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. But the interesting thing about the Isle of Man, apart from having Manx cats, which don't have tails, is it was the first country in the world to give the vote to women.
Wow.
No, I found that fascinating in your bio.
Did not know that.
Did not realize
Did not know that. Now, just because we're running out of time, John, I want to make sure that people know this is a very wonderfully written book. You have obviously both sides of your brain work, because you are an artist as well as a scientist, so you've definitely got that going. The book is called A Flight to Romance, and John sent us a copy, John Fishwick.
Yep.
So let me give away the one copy that was sent to us, and the rest of us have to buy it, including me. So how do we do that? Where do we go online?
Let me give you my website. I'll say it a couple of times, because it's got a lot of what we've talked about this morning, Larry and
Robin.
On the website.
Okay.
And it's john-fishwick.com.
Okay.
That's john-fishwick, Fishwick.com. And there's a lot of the titles of various lectures I give and my bio. And there's actually also a video trailer. If you click on YouTube, you'll see a video trailer pop up.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Let me see if I can get a person to give this book to. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Hey, this is Charles.
Charles, you've got the book. It'll be waiting for you.
Gotcha, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, fabulous. Well, this has been one of the best radio interviews I've had. You two are great.
I appreciate that.
Your lead-ins are perfect.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that, too. And you're definitely welcome in the studio. And anytime, just let us know, and we'll talk about the same book if you want, or the next one. And have a great weekend. By the way, your character flies into Newark Airport. Robin is flying into Newark Airport Saturday morning.
Yep. Visit my son.
Robin, you never know who you're going to meet on the plane.
That's right.
Well, she'll be with her husband, so I'm sure she'll be fine. All right, we've got to take a little break. Thank you, John Fishwick. That was great. We will be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Parts of the Midwest picking up the pieces after storms ripped through in Wichita, for instance.
Downing power lines, ripping off roofs, knocking over a freight train.
Fox's William Lajeunesse. Meanwhile, the National Weather Service says that chances have grown. The much-feared El Nino weather phenomenon will strike the northern hemisphere this year. Another person's being held in the case of the deadly South Korean ferry tragedy.
Prosecutors detaining a man whose company owned the sunken ferry, suspecting he knew it was overloaded. He says he is sorry for those who died. It's reported the ship routinely carried too much cargo and that regulators ignored it. Meanwhile, bad weather today at the wreck site, meaning divers found no more bodies, just under 36 people still missing.
Fox News Radio's Alistair Wanklin in the Asia Bureau. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Get more control over your small business with ADT Security Services. Through June 1st, get $250 instant savings on select ADT business packages. Get 24/7 burglary monitoring, a motion detector, 2 wireless cameras, and a lot less worries about your business. Call Star ADT from your cell phone. That's Star 238. It's savings made simple. ADT, our business is helping your business. 36-month monitoring contract required. For applicable terms and conditions, visit ADT.com. Florida EF 0001121.
You put up with enough squealers. That annoying coworker? Squealer. Your kids fighting? Squealers. And that rat, Billy Parker, in the 5th grade. Big time squealer. So don't take squealing from your brakes. Get up to a $50 rebate Visa card on qualifying brake purchases. $50. Conquer the job with Napa Know-How. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer.
Hi, this is Sam Roberts with Air Ducts Heating and Air. I've been in the air conditioning business for years, but just recently my wife and I decided to open our own business. It's a difficult economic environment, but praise God, we've been doing just fine. And I'd like to take this time to thank all of my customers. I'd also like to invite you to give Air Ducts Heating and Air a try. You see, I don't have the high overhead of having 30 trucks on the road, dozens of employees, etc. And that means I can give you the absolute lowest rock bottom price on your new AC system. When you call Air Ducts Heating and Air, 215-4624, that's 215-4624, I personally will come to your home and give you a free, no obligation in-home estimate. Air Ducts Heating and Air is a family-owned and operated business, and it'll be our pleasure to help keep your family comfortable.
Call today, 304-6766. That's 304-6766.
Call today for your free in-home estimate. License number CAC 1817288.
This is a public notice. Local residents can now save thousands of dollars on their next car, truck, or SUV. It's not a tent sale, because no tent is big enough to hold this many cars. It's OcalaForSale.com. Say goodbye to sticker shock. OcalaForSale.com has thousands of vehicles